February 19th, 2026 at 6 p.m. and I call this meeting to order. Could I ask Mr. Keith Dyer to come up to the invocation, please?
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you again today in humble prayer, where we want to thank you for everything that you've given us, all the lessons you've given us. Thank you for this county. Thank you for all the hard-working people who do everything every day to make this county great and keep it running and operating very smoothly. Lord, we ask that you be with us tonight. Please give us some wisdom, some guidance, and always, in any time that we fail you, please, Lord, forgive us. In Jesus Christ's holy name, I pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Could I ask Mr. Mercer to do the pledge for us?
Veterans raise their hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I hereby approve the minutes from the December 22nd, 2025 call meeting, the January 22nd, 2026 county call meeting, and the February 6th, 2026 call meeting. As they are presented, you all have been provided a copy with your agenda packets. The first is the presentation. At the last meeting, there were quite a few questions related to the current SPLOST that we were unable to answer at the meeting. I would like everyone to be aware that all of my office staff, each of them wear many hats, but each person is also assigned specific duties and job titles where they are most knowledgeable. For example, Ms. Teresa Stevens handles accounts payable, and that is her primary job function. She knows a lot of things related to SPLOST and general county operations that she has learned through her time and experience with the county, but she may not be able to answer precisely the thickness of asphalt used in a paving county road. That would be a question for the road superintendent. This is the case with SPLOST. Most of the office staff have various information and understanding of SPLOST procedures and funds, but Pam Hawkins' main job titles are purchasing agent and SPLOST program manager. She is the most knowledgeable and the most versed in everything related to SPLOST requirements and expenditures. Therefore, I have asked her to be here tonight to provide you all with a presentation on SPLOST funds and projects, as well as answer any questions that you all may have. We also have here Kevin Hanby with Hanby Management Group, who is also assisting Union County with the management of SPLOST projects. Pam, will you please come up? And I'd like to hold your questions for Pam and any on the SPLOST until the end of the meeting, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. The projector is not working this evening, so we have a TV here and a TV there with the PowerPoint presentation. Tonight, what I'm going to give you is a So tonight what I'm going to give you is a financial update, where we stood on funds as of December 31st, 2025, showing the status of the funds, received, expenditures, and future projects for the remaining of this year, 2026. So as of 12/31/2025, the original SPLOST referendum estimated revenue that we projected years ago was $24 million. That's what we estimated we would collect in 6 years. The revised estimated revenue that we're saying now is $45,049,785. We have come up with that number based on what we have actually received so far and what our projected revenue will be for the remaining SPLOST checks coming in each month. The estimated Union County share, actual and projected, of that 45 million is 41,258,844. The difference in those two numbers is what goes to the city of Blairsville for their intergovernmental agreement percentage. So our SPLOST program actual monthly distributions, we're at 56. As of December 31st, we had received 56 out of 72 payments from the Georgia Department of Revenue, so we're at 78% of this SPLOST program. All right, so this is a cash flow. It's a lot, and I'm just going to kind of go through it slowly as best I can. Our checking account, SPLOST 5 checking account balance at the year end was $284,541. The Georgia Fund 1 account is the account that is set up for the Georgia Department of Revenue to put the monthly revenue or SPLOST revenue payments into. It's a higher interest account, so it bears more interest, which benefits everybody. So 12/31/25, the Georgia Fund 1 account balance was $10,043,570. So the total amount available at year end is that $10,328,111. We've estimated in 2026, 12 checks at $625,000 a month average. The Union County share after the city of Blairsville would be $6,868,875. And then I've listed our 2026 estimated commitments to date. Now these are things, SPLOST projects and estimated dollar amounts that we have commitments for in 2026. That's not to say that other things may not come up this year, because things happen, things come up that we're able to spend SPLOST money on to help fund. So the city of Blairsville portion at their 8.5% that they get based on the IGA is $631,125. Admin facilities project is $650,000. Public safety, we have committed $5 million. Roads and bridges, we have committed $4,300,000. In parks and recreation, $213,000. All total for those commitments is $10,794,125. So if we do the math on that page, taking our balance at the end of the year plus actual or projected money coming in, our commitments to date going out the door, then hopefully as of December 31st, 2026, we could be sitting on roughly $6.4 million. All right, so this is just breaking down those expenses. I've already covered the city of Blairsville portion. Admin facilities, $650,000 is broken down in our courthouse roof replacement, which we'll be getting started on very soon. The entire roof of this building has to be replaced. And then we're building a new transportation office building over at the road department for the transportation department, and also a couple offices for the road department. Under the public safety project, we have the balance on the new 911 center construction. Some of that's already been paid in 2025, but the remainder of that will be paid in 2026. The new 911 center technology items, that alone is over $1 million of all the technology that has to go into that new 911 center. The SCBA's for the Union County Fire Department, that's over $1 million. That'll come out this year in 2026. And then Sheriff's Office vehicles, helping out the sheriff with the vehicles they need this year. Roads and bridges, the $4.3 million, that includes the Canada Creek Bridge replacement, which is going on right now, Spider Cove Bridge replacement, Young Cane Creek Bridge replacement, Town Creek School Road is a big culvert. The LMIG match for paving, we're able to get a lot of money from GDOT, State of Georgia, for LMIG paving, and our match goes into that. Roundabout construction balance. The roundabout's going on now. We paid a little bit in 2025, but the balance on that project this year will come out of this. And then the monthly and usual road department expenses like striping roads, paving roads, surface treatment, culverts, anything like that is also in this project. Parks and recreation, dollar amount was $213,000. That is for equipment that they have to maintain the grounds and everything with the rec department facilities. And that is all I have, and we'll take questions later at the end. Thank you.
Will these slides be made available to us?
We'll take the question, thing on that next. Number 2 is adoption. I hereby adopt the FTA procurement policy for the Union County Transit System. This policy had an effective date of February 11, 2026. This policy only relates to purchases made by the county for Union County transportation. Since the transit system is funded through the Federal Transit Administration by way of the Georgia Department of Transportation, Union County is required to adopt the policies they provide us. The policy will only apply to purchases that are over $5,000 that are especially for the transit program, and we do not foresee there being any purchases over that amount for this department. If they are, though, we have a policy in place as required by FTA. Number 3 is an agreement. I hereby accept this agreement between Geo Hydro Engineers Incorporated and Union County, Georgia for materials testing related to the construction of Canada Creek Bridge. The total cost of this agreement is not to exceed $14,988 with an effective date of January 2026. This will be paid out of SPLOST along with the entirety of the bridge construction. They will perform foundation testing to make sure the ground for the abutment will be structurally sound. They will be on site during concrete and steel placement to monitor, sample, and test materials. They will also be checking certificates of compliance for boat assemblies and the cold form steel deck for conference and compliance. Number 4 is agreement. I hereby accept this agreement between Motorola Solutions Subscription Services Agreement and Union County, Georgia for RABE Mobile Safety in the amount of $8,679.44 per year for 5 years with an effective date of February 12, 2026. There is one-time setup and integration fee for $4,300. Prior to David Dyer, will you come up please and explain this necessary agreement?
Thanks, sir. So this is talking about our mass notification system. The mass notification system is a system that we use for, it's best known as reverse 911. So if we need to hit every cell phone, every email, every landline phone to give out some sort of important message like evacuation, severe weather, anything like that to emergency management, this is the system that does it. We've had one for a very long time. We've had a couple of different companies. The last company we had is called Code Red. Unfortunately, Code Red had a severe data breach last November, about, I mean, it was the day before we had our big search, and it shut our system down. We couldn't send out any alerts. We couldn't get to our information. We couldn't do anything. We've been in negotiation with them for about 2 months and finally gave it up and said, well, we're not going to be able to get this fixed. And so we researched a bunch of other companies who do this, and we come up with Rave. One of the reasons why we use this company is because it's the one that GEMA uses. It's also several large colleges and cities use this as well. It also puts out a larger message. You know, sometimes this is what you get for an Amber Alert, if y'all are familiar with that. So we wanted to make sure that it has enough characters to be able to put a long enough message so you can understand what's going on with it. There's a lot of systems that use this not only for emergency communications, but also for everyday communications like the rec department, stuff like that. Uses this system, the hospital, the sheriff's office. There's a lot of other organizations that use it. So this will take us about 4 to 6 weeks to get the contract taken care of. Our information that we already have, which is our information, transferred into it. And once that's completed, we'll put out a program to have everybody in the county hopefully sign up for it so that everybody will stay informed. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Number 5 is business license. Everyone has been provided a copy of the list of business licenses issued in Union County from January 19, 2026 to February 15, 2026. for the purpose of operating a short-term rental in Union County. I hereby approve all business licenses contained on the list provided, and it will be made a part of the minutes. Number 6 is a commitment letter. I hereby accept this commitment letter between Union County and Legacy Link for the required local share during fiscal year 2027 in the amount of $16,000. These funds are used by the Area Agency on Aging as a match to draw down the federal and state monies for administration, coordination, information, and referral employment and training of older worker volunteer programs at the Union County Senior Center. There was no increase in the amount requested by Legacy Link from the previous year. Number 7 is contract. I hereby accept this contract between Dusty Greer Commercial Roofing and Union County, Georgia, for the roof replacement on the Union County Courthouse in the amount of $475,000, dated February 5th, 2026. The notice of award was adopted at the January 2026 county meeting. Number 8, grant award. I hereby accept this accountability court grant AW-ACFP-26-804-183 for the Illinois Judicial Accountability Court, especially for the law enforcement in the amount of $12,754. The grant period is from January 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2026. Number 9, reschedule meeting. I hereby reschedule the county meeting scheduled for March 17th, 2026 to March 24th, 2026 due to scheduling conflicts. The meeting will be held at 6 p.m. here in the jury room as usual. We now have a lot of resolutions to catch up, so some board member appointments, so bear with me on this as I have to combine some, so I don't have to keep repeating the same thing to the same board. Number 10, resolution. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-08, reappointing Mary Jane B. Witchcock as the Union County representative for the Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities and Addictive Disease Advisory Council of the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities with a term beginning February 1st, 2026 and set to expire on January 31st, 2029. 11-13 resolutions. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-09, R-2026-10, and R-2026-11, reappointing the following individuals to the Urban Redevelopment Agency of Union County with a term beginning on February 19, 2026 and set to expire on February 18, 2027. Keely Nugent, Brandon Hargrove, and Daniel Davenport. Number 14 is a resolution. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-12, reappointing Bo Wright to the Board of Directors of Union County Governmental Finance Corporation for the term beginning on February 1st, 2026 and set to expire on January 31st, 2030. Number 15 is a resolution. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-13, appointing Chase Gunner to the Board of Directors of the Union County Governmental Finance Corporation for the term beginning on February 1st, 2026 and set to expire on January 31st, 2030. Number 16 is a resolution. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-14, reappointing Robbie Caldwell Weaver to the Board of Directors of the Union County Governmental Finance Corporation for the term beginning on February 1st, 2026 and set to expire on January 31st, 2029. 17-18 is a resolution. I I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-15 and R-2026-16, reappointing the following individual to the Union County Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals with terms beginning on February 19th, 2026, and set to expire on February 18th, 2029. Lisa Haggis and Joe Moses. 19 and 20 is a resolution. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-17 and R-2026-18, reappointing the following individuals to the Union County Construction Board and Adjustment and Appeals to alternate board members for the term beginning on February 19, 2026, and set to expire on February 18, 2027. Chris Figgy, Limona Nixon. Number 21 is a resolution. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-19, appointing Megan Kimby to the short-term rental board as the Union County short-term rental enforcement representative with a term beginning February 1st, 2026, and set to expire on January 31st, 2029. Number 22 is a resolution. I hereby adopt resolution R-2026-20, appointing Tommy White to serve as an ex officio board member on the board of directors of the Union County Development Authority with an effective date of February 19th, 2026, and set to expire on May 31st, 2026. And I'll ask Mr. Tony Huger, our county manager, to come up and give us county updates.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Start as always with the road department. They've been extremely busy in the past several weeks. As you all know, we had the ice storm come up that, thank goodness, that the majority of us missed Union County, so it got hit pretty hard. And then the following weekend, we had a snowstorm hit. Good bit of snow. I will say this, that I felt like the road department done extremely well cleaning the roads. Got on as soon as possible, got on them, worked extremely hard. Shifts, worked 12-hour shifts, about 3 days, 4 days there to get everything cleared away. Also, keep in mind, doing nobody out in the parking lot doing snow dances. That being said, we started out about 375 tons of salt. And we're down to about 75 tons of salt. We spent 2 weeks contacting different distributors throughout Southeast, and the salt is depleted. Can't find any, no luck whatsoever. So if we get another snow, about a day's worth, then all we'll be able to buy the salt. So let's hope we don't see no more snow till next winter. The road department, like I say, worked extremely hard. They're on Crump Creek now, changing out some culverts up in that area. This dire need had been changed before we get ready for paving season. Working really hard. Our rec department, basketball all-stars are continuing on. The 8U, 10U, and 14U boys, all 3 age groups, won the Mountain Athletic Conference Championship tournament. So they're on district tournaments now. A lot of the teams are starting to participate tonight. I'd like to wish them well and congratulate them on what they've already been doing in performance and wish them well going forward. The spring season upcoming in the rec department, we have in baseball registration, we have 237 baseball registrations, 157 in softball, 118 in volleyball, 186 in soccer, 22 in wrestling, for a total of 720 rec participants this coming spring. Looking forward to a great spring with all the kids. Over Canada Creek Bridge coming along really well. Abutments are in. Got to get the concrete, about 30 days to cure. There'll be a place in that bridge that's going kind of ahead of schedule, which is a good thing. Also, Also, we have, as Ms. Ham said earlier, we've got the other bridges out that we're going to be working on that the state's requiring us to get work done. We've got 3 or 4 of those that we're going to be getting on here soon. Roundabout for Pat Harrelson, y'all know the light and all construction on that began this morning. So look for, if you're in this area going in and out, look for some delays for the next several weeks, months, until this roundabout's finished up. But I think once it's completed, it's going to help us out in that area a lot. The roof, we met with the contractor on the roof this morning. On courthouse here, they'll begin construction on it next week, deliver materials Monday. Hopefully, weather permitting, roughly a month. They did say up to 6 weeks, depending on how much rain we get. So, also, the gun range to be looking out for things going on up there. They have a hunter's education course coming up. They're hosting up there on March 11th and 12th. So if you got any young ones, you know, that wants to take place in that, you can register and do that as well. Byron Harbor Grease, they've got some summer camp scheduled for the kids that during and after they're out of school. We'll be watching for that. That'd be a great thing going on for the kids there as well. Thank you.
At this time, I'll adjourn the meeting and open for questions.
I'll repeat my question about getting the material that was presented.
You got my phone right there, you don't come up.
That's it. Are we going to get the material that was presented today?
I will be glad to give that to you.
Yeah.
If you're requesting clause, you'll have Ms. Payne requesting on the clause. Okay? Come on up with the mic, maybe on it.
Yes, I get that.
Is it for clause, is that your?
I'll be here after the meeting.
Okay. I am, he's gonna let the clause. we'll let
Okay.
you-
Megan, do I need this? You don't.
All right, Ms. Hawkins, my name is Owen McDonald. You probably recognize my voice. I appreciate you being here tonight. and-
Turn it on.
you.
Well, the light was on, guys.
Push up on it.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you for coming and helping tonight. Give us a little bit of insight into what is, for me, has been like an onion, just peeling back layers and layers and trying to understand something that is a pretty big number. I'm not sure if this gentleman's question was answered. Will there be a handout for what you provided?
I'll be glad to email it to you. I'll take your email address after the meeting.
Okay. All right, I'll be happy to do that too. Sorry?
Hold the mic, Joe. Right up to my
What
face.
you say is important.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, sorry about that. All right. Couple of questions on SPLOST. The 1% fee that is taken from SPLOST before the 8.5% is paid to the city of Blairsville. I don't see Miss, yes, I guess in Smallhouse. The 1% fee, the administration fee, is that taken into the general governmental fund as revenue, or does it remain in SPLOST?
It remains in SPLOST, and that is used for administration purposes, to help pay for us to administer SPLOST.
So I understand. Okay. All right. All right. My biggest question that I have had, trying to get my head around, was the changing of the numbers. The first time I've asked in 2 different public meetings about SPLOST 5. One was the budget meeting in December, and one was last month at the commissioners meeting. And I was unable to get answered, and I failed to follow up with you after the budget meeting, and that's on me. But what I'm having a hard time understanding is how the county gets from the 24 million in revenue and projected expenditure to the 44 million of revenue that was published in the paper in December. And so when I talked to you on the phone and I asked you what was the expected spend on the program, you indicated that it would match the revenue of 43 million. And I did the math and I just run the average out. I think whether it's 44, 45, 46, 41, who knows what it's going to end up being. But how does the county set the priorities to spend? And I'm looking at you because I need an answer. I'm looking at you as the executive here to tell me who's making the decisions on what this additional revenue is spent on. Is there a review that you go through and approve periodically? Do you get it from department heads and then circle back with Ms. Hawkins to reconcile numbers? Just give me an overview of how that process works within the county.
I would like to speak to that first before Mr. Collins comes up. Every SPLOST, at the beginning of SPLOST, we have to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city. And in that intergovernmental agreement where we plan an amount, we agree to a percentage amount that they will give of their city projects. Exhibit A is attached with the list of our projects. And that estimated revenue, because obviously years and years ago we projected 24 million because that was based on what we collected in the previous SPLOST. So out of that 24 million in the intergovernmental agreement, we set percentages. Like Parks and Rec may have 35%, roads and bridges may have 40%, public safety may have 35%. So there's percentages in that intergovernmental agreement, and that allocates out of the projected total and then the actual and projected total what we are allocating to those projects, if that helps.
Yes, so there's a pie
There's a pie.
with slices.
But then there's also actual that comes along.
Right.
Because, I use this as an example sometimes too. If you told me 20 years ago we were going to build a pickleball court out of SPLOST, I didn't even know what pickleball was. But pickleball's
No one
a big deal. Pickleball's a big deal now. And so, just like with the 911 center, eventually we needed a new 911 center. But 10 years ago, we couldn't have told you what it was going to cost. It's like you're trying to predict the future with revenues and expenses, but we heavily rely on the department heads and elected officials in their offices and the road department to come to us and say what's needed and what we have to spend money on. And then if we can spend that out of SPLOST, that's golden.
Let me add to that, because this definitely gets confusing for a lot of people. When you alluded to the thing in December, you're talking about what the electorate will eventually vote on. And
No, there was a status report. of
It was
SPLOST
just a
5.
project update. It was
Okay.
a project update in the newspaper.
well, with that and this, you have to look at two different numbers. The legislature says you have to publish your cost or put on a ballot what you think will cost. And then they say that cost will be the total estimated revenue. That's what they tell you it has to be. Right there in plain, bold, black and white letters in the law. Once then you have your project lists, like Ms. Hawkins was talking about pickleball courts. If you listed recreational facilities, which by Georgia legislature, by Attorney General opinions, and by the Georgia Supreme Court, says that's what you need to put on the ballot. Just say recreational facilities. All right? Improvements, upgrades, equipment, whatever. You can then now build, 5 years later, if you're still under that same SPLOST, a pickleball court that comes up. When you decide to build that pickleball court, you get an estimated amount of what it might be, and you have to keep an account of that specific project under that SPLOST. And then you get the exact number of kind of what I think you're asking about, right? You get the exact number of that project there. Not, no project starts out with this will cost $5 million and then it's $5 million to the penny. but you have to keep a budget and account of that specific project under that specific SPOS by Georgia law, and keep track of that. Does that make sense?
Of course, you do the best you can.
Yeah.
You're planning into the future, and it never turns out exactly like you planned. Some projects drop off, others come on. That's the way business works, that's the way government is going to work with this as well, I would expect.
So has your question been answered, or would you like to talk, Mr. Collins?
No, I would like to hear about the approval and his review and the ultimate decision to spend the 44 or 45, I think it's going to be closer to 46 million versus the 24 million. And how is that process, how did it come about? Well, I'm going to choose my words carefully here and without being critical. But the original spend of 24 million and the current projected spend of 44 million, let's just say. Okay, so that additional $20 million, who ultimately is deciding to spend that money? I am not a lawyer, but I researched and I looked in the Georgia Code, and the Georgia Code, my interpretation of it was additional costs, which are costs to consumers but revenues to the county, that exceed SPOS-related expenditures are to be applied to debts, certain debts, and those certain debts, the way I interpreted it, were related to the projects associated with SPOS, and lacking those, return to the general fund to reduce millage on property tax, so property tax relief. That was the way I understood it. Maybe I did not understand it correctly, but that's how I got it. I don't have a problem, and I told Chief Dyer this last month after the meeting, I am not against continuation of the SPOS. If we are confident that these dollars are going to the benefit of the citizens of Union County and travelers in Union County, you guys should own it. You should be proud of it. You should be able to talk about the things that have been done with the SPOS. I'm not against it simply because I'm asking questions. I just want to understand the process. And what really got me started was when I asked the question at the budget meeting, and Ms. Mahan gave me a copy of the audit, and the last page of the audit showed the $24 million. So that was my reference point. And then 2.5 weeks later, it shows up in the paper as 44. And then I asked you, well, what's the spend going to be? Oh, we're going to spend the 44.
Because those expenditures are going to come. Ask the public safety people, ask the roads and bridges people. These expenditures for Parks and Rec, county admin facilities, public safety, those expenses are coming. We don't spend frivolously in SPOS. We spend on what's needed. If we don't spend those SPOS dollars that are coming in, we have to hit the general fund. So if we are allowed to spend, which we are, SPOS dollars on all these needed items, we want to spend those SPOS dollars because everybody's paying those. Does that make sense?
Certainly it does.
And I want to give you one more example about predicting the future. When SPOS 3 was planned years ago, this would have been around 2007, 2008, a financial group was working on the projections for SPOS 3. They projected $31.5 million to start in 2009 for 6 years. We actually collected during that 6 years $19 million. So that's the opposite of what you're seeing now. The year-end report said 31.5 in that first column, but actual was not anywhere near 13 or 31.5. So we have to adjust with what's actual collected, and we plan on spending that on those projects. Public safety, Parks and Rec, county admin facilities, solid waste transfer station, all those those things that are needed, if we can spend our SPOS money, we want to do that because everybody's paying that. Just like when I go to another county in Georgia to spend money, I'm giving them their SPOS. Right now, 152 out of 159 counties have a SPOS. And the ones that don't have a SPOS, those 7, have a T-SPOS.
Okay.
And high millage rates.
Yeah, understand, economic development, depressed economic development such as occurred in 2008, 2009, 2010, I think that was the period you were just referring
Economy
to.
tanked.
Many people probably in this room were impacted negatively. So certainly I can see how the revenues there would be a shortfall of the original projected. But when economic activity or inflation, which occurred during the last presidential administration, sets the bar higher in terms of sales, cost of products, and sales tax accordingly. So I'm still getting back to the question, and I don't want to be jaded and say, boy, it looks like Union County has never met a SPOS dollar that they can't find something to spend it on. But a lot of people will say that. And as y'all get prepared to talk about SPOS 6, I think that's something that you guys have got to be prepared to help voters, citizens, and taxpayers understand a little bit better. Because what I had a hard time was the conflict or the juxtaposition about the spending of the surplus and the messaging that I read in the paper about hard choices coming if SPOS 6 was not approved. And to me, those two things seemed a little bit in conflict. And that's what I would like a little bit of insight on.
Somebody correct me here if I'm wrong, but you don't mind. I keep hearing this 24 million number, everybody always throws it. You don't need to collect that for 24 million. Well, if we didn't have an intergovernmental agreement with the city, we could not collect past 24 million, correct?
When you have an intergovernmental agreement on a SPOS, the reason why you go, here's the estimated revenue we go to collect, is because it's not allowed to end until it ends. And this is why you do generalized topics of projects you can spend the money on, but you don't have to have specified projects at the time. So that way, when the money comes in, if a need arises or something like that, or a project arises that needs that, you can spend the money on it. If you don't spend the money, there is an avenue to go back in to the general fund, like you're saying. This is probably, I know you want to hear the process, and he'll get to that. If we were going to build a baseball stadium here, Union County is going to build a baseball stadium. That did not include the city. All right, it was just Union County, no other municipality. We would have to go, okay, we're going to build the Harold Collins Baseball Stadium. It's going to cost this much money. Once you collect that money, it stops. There's no more collection because it's from one municipality or one county entity. But when you have an intergovernmental, the legislature says you're not allowed to stop it. You go until it finishes. And this is why you have the broader categories that you vote on that you can spend the money on. And then sometimes you might have a few projects you have in mind. Sometimes projects come up years later. That's kind of, well, that's how the law's set up to work. So if there is an intergovernmental like we do with Blairsville, and there's an overage that is not going to get spent, then there is an avenue for it to go back into the general fund, but that's typically not what happens.
Ms. Hawkins said in her experience it has never happened in this county or any other.
Well, I
No,
can't
I
speak
said in
for,
this county, I can't speak for other counties.
My mistake then.
in my experience, I've never seen a county go back into it, but there is a legislative avenue for that.
Okay.
You know, there's no way to predict the future on what road bridges, rooftops, fire department, sheriff department, you're gonna need after the additional 24 million, what everybody wants to talk about, the remaining 20 million, whatever. You know, have you rather the county say we're gonna do 5 million roads, 5 million bridges, the other 14 million on something else, and then it stops and we get those repaired? Well, the first 2 years, you may spend all that, and then you've got the rest of the remaining 4 years, whatever. If a bridge goes out, we're going to that extra $1 million. Because it's not coming into the slot, it's stopped, it's 24 million. So you either going to have to borrow the money, pay high interest, or pull it out of the general fund, and then other property taxes to take care of that. So if you'd rather have the SPOS running its course and spending that extra 20 million or whatever it is on rooftops that come about, bridges that's falling apart, roads that's falling apart, culverts that need replaced every year, equipment from the road department is getting old, our transfer station stuff getting old, rec department always needs something. I mean, it's never ending. You know, you got to have general maintenance on everything in the county. You just can't let it go because so many people want SPOS dropped at that 24 million mark.
I understand that. As a homeowner, I have the same challenges.
You got to keep it maintained. Anything you build or have, it's got to be maintained.
Absolutely.
New stuff is what I said.
And you stuff, you got new stuff you want, you know.
Just a moment, please. I have one more question here. I understand about things coming up. And I wrote a letter to the editor, and I even used the example of the roof as one such thing that comes up. Got it. Not an issue. But to some people are going, the original resolution that was passed, and I don't exactly recall the wording, but I'm pretty sure the original resolution had a dollar amount of projected revenues to be collected, and that's where that $24 million came from.
If you don't have an intergovernmental agreement.
But it's still being published and put on the status reports, either in the audit or from the county itself, original projected revenues. So it came from somewhere.
In that SPOS year-end report in the newspaper, it is required to be original estimated. That's the original
Yeah.
estimate, it has to be in that column. The next column is the projected. So you have to say, this was actual, this is projected.
Yeah, those are expenditures on the expenditures, but on the revenue, the original revenue of 24 million, that came from somewhere.
That came from the previous SPOS 4, our actual, what we collected in 6 years, so that's why we use that figure.
Understand?
So
Not,
what's the question? I'm trying to figure out what the question is now.
the question is the delta, the difference between the 24 original spend under SPOS 5
Because
and the projected expense and revenue of 44, roughly $20 million
we are
more.
saying that we are projecting to collect around 44 million in
Yes.
this SPOS duration. Therefore, we will spend that 44 million on the projects we have based on the percentages in the intergovernmental agreement.
Got it. But here's the thing. A lot of people are going to view that as you've moved from the got to have zip code to the want to have zip code.
I don't think so.
If you think it's a difference between wants and needs, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
I said some people might,
So,
as you get prepared for SPOS 6. But it is a question that a lot of people are going to have.
do you have another question? 'Cause
I
I know
do
the lady
not.
behind you may
I
have a
do not.
question, so, okay.
Sir, and I thought I said it before, And sometimes I can be confusing because I'm a lawyer, and sometimes we're intentionally confusing, so I don't mean to be. But the original SPLOST estimated revenue, okay, has to be set by legislature. Law was still the same back then. Not on what you plan a project cost to actual be, but what that 1% you think is actually going to bring in over the years that the SPLOST is going to be. They call it, you know, your projected revenue or your projected costs, but get with me afterwards. I can provide you the code section that, I mean, it literally says, here's your project cost. This is how it's estimated by the total revenue you collect over the many years that you estimate you're going to collect. So if they thought back then when it first started it was going to be 24 million, but then they collected way more than that, well, you still have to show what you actually collected as opposed to what you thought you were 5-6 years ago. And so then if you do the new SPLOST, you update it based off of the new collections of what you estimate you might get over the next, what do they last, 5 years? 6 years.
6.
So it's not based off of we think we're doing a pickleball court for $24 million and now we're going to spend another $24 million on a new pickleball court. It's based off of the legislature requires you to estimate the revenue you are going to collect from that 1% sales tax over the 6 years you think you're going to collect it before you collect one dime. That's what they make you do. And because of that, it's very, very hard to go, well, this is what we're actually going to get, and then this is how we're going to spend it before it's even spent. That's why you give, we're going to spend it on recreational facilities, we're going to spend it on administrative buildings, we're going to spend it on roads, bridges, highways, things like that.
Projected is projected. That was my only question. How do you get from the 24 million projected? How did that come from? I will let you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I moved to this county, and one of the reasons I moved to this county is because I love it the way it is. And I want to make sure that we preserve what our county has to offer in the future. In the last 6 months to a year, we've had a lot of, I hate to say scary, but scary rumors that have come up. Rumors of data centers, rumors of corporations buying our water supply. And the latest is the one that came out on the radio last week of a large mosque purchasing land in our area to build a facility in Union County. And I don't expect answers on those from you directly right here, but what I'd like to ask is, can the county put together a group, a task force, a purpose to put in preemptive ordinances and preemptive practices in our county to prevent those types of things from coming in here and to help preserve our way of life?
Depending on what the citizens bring to the commissioner of, hey, we're worried this will happen. It's definitely better to go, we're extremely worried this has happened, and see if we can put an ordinance in place that's legal.
Yes, it's legal.
That could alleviate those worries, or I don't want to say alleviate worries, but
discourage those entities.
Discourage practices from happening.
Yes.
I can give you an example on how we've done this in the past would be the data mining centers.
We have, I was going to say, we have an ordinance against those.
Exactly, but, so, all right, we have an ordinance against data mining centers. But the reason we have one is because neighboring counties in North Carolina had big problems with them. We didn't want them to come to Blairsville, so we made an ordinance to make it really strict if they wanted to come here.
I missed that one. I didn't realize that.
So that is one that we have done preemptively because a group of citizens came to the commissioner's office with an issue that they said, hey, we'd like you to look into this to see if we could come up with something to have some stringent rules if someone wanted to make one here. Now, a data mining center can still come to Blairsville, but they have to follow Blairsville rule or Union County rules. They got to follow Union County rules. So, if there's an issue that we already don't have an ordinance on, I suggest you schedule a meeting with the commissioner, talk to him about your worries, and maybe some suggestions on how you think we could alleviate that.
Very good, thank you.
Good evening. First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to get a commitment from you, Harold. We talked about this a week or so ago, that there will be a town hall meeting over slots before the election. Will you commit to that tonight?
There's normally a town hall meeting, but it has been pushed back. It won't be on the ballot until November.
The slots will not be
It
on
won't be on the
until...
ballot until November.
Okay, all right. that's
But we
fine.
will have a town hall meeting, before sometime.
Okay, I think that's something that's very important for people to know, because I certainly wasn't made aware of that the slots is being pushed back until November. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, fine.
That's the
So
slot.
we've got some more time to deal with it. Okay. Now, Ms. Mercer, you talked about, you gave an example.
Mister? I know I'm a big boy, but I'm still a boy.
You made the comment about when there's an actual project done, that the accounting has to be kept for that project.
Correct, sir.
Okay? I would like to see before the November election that we get a full accounting of Slots 5 from its inception to date, showing the actual expenditures for the actual projects that have been funded by Slots 5. Is that a reasonable request?
Of course.
And you can do that, and you will commit to doing it before the election? Okay, that's one thing. That will allow us as citizens to determine how this money is actually being spent and whether we agree with how it's being spent. And I think that's all I've been really fighting for here for several months. Get information to us so we can make rational decisions. I'm not, and have not, and will not tell anybody to vote for Slots or not to vote for Slots. What I want them to get is the information so that they can make a rational decision. Okay.
I don't blame you. I mean, that way you know where your money's going.
Okay, so I'm getting some commitments here tonight. I'm very pleased to hear that. Now, I have a couple of other subjects, non-slots, that I just want to point out. Recently, in submitting ORRs, and supposedly we're supposed to have 3 days for a response, not necessarily provide the information, but response to us. And that hasn't been happening, okay? I had one, basically went 15 days before I heard a word from the county. I think we need to at least realize and get the response. I'm working on it. It's going to take 2 weeks, whatever they might be.
Would you like a response to that?
Pardon?
We are working on alleviating that delay with the hiring of Miss Megan Kimsey to help me.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking for myself alone on that.
Oh, I know.
Several other people have been complaining about
I am
response.
probably more aware of my delays than anybody.
We need a SPLOST for ORR center.
Now,
Yeah.
the other thing is when my latest ORRs, what I was trying to obtain were the actual amounts for the years of 2023 and 2024. So I could make some comparisons to the budget and the actuals. And also start looking at trends and such in the, and what I received for 2023 was 1,500 pages of every posting to every account for 2023 with no summations anywhere. I haven't got the time to try to add up 1,500 pages. That information should be available, okay?
You got, well, so let me address that. Open records request legally, okay? You make a records request for records that say, I want the full accounting of this year. Sounds like you've got the 1,500 page full accounting of this year. The county government or a municipality or anybody is not required to make you a new document.
Oh, absolutely. But what I asked for is exactly the information that would have been provided to, I can't remember the name of the auditing company. I know the guy.
Rusty?
Yeah. That's what he needs in order to do his audit of our accounts.
Does he not get all 1,500 pages? Yeah, the auditor would have to have all of it.
Oh, but he also gets the totals in each account. Is that not correct?
If I could speak to that. So what you requested was 2023 and 2024 data. 2024 data is readily available because it is in our system. 2023 data is in an old system. It was not moved over. So no one is familiar with that system. I have never worked on that system, and I could not manage to figure out how to pull a summation of that data.
I understand that. Okay.
Well, but please let me finish. So if I could have provided that to you, I would have. Yes, it should be generally available, and in the future it will be. But I can't speak to the past.
One summation then I'll make on this. Several months ago, Harold, you commented that you are not going to do a forensic audit. And the main reason I believe you said that was because of the cost. I'm not sure if you would have gone ahead and done a forensic audit, the first comment they would have said is, where the hell is the data? Okay, because they would need to go back a couple of years, and you're saying you don't have it.
No, it's there. She said it's there.
It's
Oh,
there.
That's not what she
Yeah,
said.
That's how you
1,500
got
pages, and no
1,500 pages.
forensic audit would start with trying to sum up 1,500 pages of individual postings.
That's exactly what a forensic audit would do. I know this because in many cases I've had with large corporations, they have to do forensic audits, and you're talking about tens of thousands of pages of data that you have to pay these people to go through. That's exactly what they do.
What I said is they would not start there. They'd start at the top
But that's
and
where
work
you're
your
wrong.
way down. Okay.
A forensic auditor wouldn't, in my experience with them, they don't take your summation. They take everything, they make their own summations. Yeah.
They will at the end, yes, but they will start at the top and work their way down.
Not in my experience, sir.
Yeah, well,
Nor mine.
it's been a long time since I did one, which it was when I was in university and worked for a company, and I actually conducted one, and I certainly did start to the top. You don't start at the bottom. That's like the engineers who start building something before they even know what the hell they're building.
Which button? You should be on.
My name is Dennis Roush, and this is going to be a real quick informational question only. Not relating to maintenance, but let's use the example of the roof on the courthouse. Are those projects advertised in the local papers or beyond the local papers?
They would be,
And then they are sealed bids in and that's exactly how you guys come about your construction projects, whether it be a bridge or a roof replacement or whatever.
there's certain mail there on bidding.
We actually advertise in the North Georgia News 4 weeks in a row, and then we advertise on the Georgia Procurement Registry.
Okay.
And if you're registered, if a contractor's registered with the Georgia Procurement Registry through DOAS, they get notification of those jobs that they can bid on. And then we use, unless it's a road project, if it's a road project, we do a hard bid, which is low bid. If it's construction or anything else, we use an RFP process, so we can evaluate all the qualifications proposals first, then open their pricing. But it's all advertised.
Okay, how far is, one more question. How far out does the North Georgia News go? I mean, where's your,
That's
It's the legal organ of Union County.
Right next to
just Union County? So anybody who wants to bid on this project, if they have to go beyond the Union County, the North Georgia newspaper to be able to get an ad, to do a.
Yes, I'm sorry, I failed to mention that we also advertise on our website, the unioncountyga.gov. If you go to the purchasing page under government and then purchasing and scroll down, there's a place you can click on a link if you want to get notified of bids.
Okay.
And you enter your information there. So every time we post on our website, because we advertise in the newspaper, the website, and the Georgia Procurement Registry.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just within the county limits, and it did reach broader areas.
No,
More people were,
on the roof, we received 9, is that right? 9 bids?
I think 9 on the roof.
9. Closest bid was from Dawsonville. Nobody in our local area bid the roof.
well, I don't think there's that many commercial roofers in this area that would probably want to take on a project.
We do have a couple.
Okay, that's beyond my question. I was just more interested in finding out how the bid process worked. Thank you very much.
Hi, and I wanted to go back to SPOS with a few questions. First, I wanted to confirm, does the regular general budget include any capital expenditures? Do we budget for any outside SPOS?
We ask department heads when they submit their budget request. We have a space there for capital projects. We review those. We look at SPLOST as an option and also at the general fund, and then make a decision for smaller dollar projects. That would be something the general fund might take on. But for anything over $100,000, we would generally have to refer that to SPLOST.
Okay, and it sounds like it's done kind of on a department basis. Does every department still actually maintain capital improvements? For example, I've worked on hospital budgets. So you're looking at everything that's capital and the life of it, so that you're projecting what things you currently have, when they're going to have to be replaced, when they're going to need regular refurbishing. So we have all that information in the county.
Yes, we have to keep track of all fixed assets,
Okay.
and those are aged out over the appropriate time according to accounting principles.
Okay, so you have all that
Yes.
documentation. Because I think when you talk about transparency for people, the more people know, I know we've talked about the fact that you can't account for everything, but you certainly can put together what you have, what the life of it is, and then project if there are going to be new things you need or may need, that would be a capital expenditure with an average life of that is normal.
An example, a good example is the road department. The road department uses a lot of big, heavy equipment and vehicles. So they know, I mean, if you go talk to those guys in the shop at the road department, they know how long that flatbed, you know, how long they've had that flatbed trailer, how long they've had that tar distributor.
So they have a listing of all the vehicles they have and what the projected life is,
And they
and when it will come up. where
They
it might be.
communicate with us to say, hey, you know, this long arm mower is biting the dust, we're spending so much money on it, we're gonna look at, probably in the next year, we need another long arm mower.
I guess what I'm saying though, for transparency purposes, each department documents that.
Yes, each department's responsible, just like David Dyer, he takes care of, fire department and EMA, and he's got a list 7 years out of stuff he knows they're gonna need and prioritizing that. So we expect all our departments to do that.
But you don't have a compiled list, so you know where you can even project if SPOS is going to meet that need and how much to put in your general budget. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, we do communicate with all the department heads, elected officials, and then they reach out to us and say, hey, we're gonna have this coming up, can we use SPOS dollars for this? And we look into it and let them know.
Okay.
So we at least ask them to go a year out, you know, to be looking at SPOS.
Yeah, I just wondered if they each have capital expenditure data and what they have and what the life is. That's kind of normalized in corporations so that you don't have SPOS.
Well, that's also part of our fixed asset list with the auditors.
Right, so we maintain, the finance department maintains a fixed asset list. What's unique about Union County is that we generally use whatever it is we have past its lifespan. So there may be situations when it would be better to replace it earlier. But the decision has always been made to be more conservative and to use something for as long as it is viable.
Okay, so that it actually is used past its, what would be its normal life?
Sometimes, it just depends on what it is.
Okay, and my other question is, on the categories for SPOS, where does senior center fall?
The senior center falls under the county admin facilities project.
Okay.
Because it's one of our administrative facilities.
Yes, because I had asked, but I haven't gotten it. I asked for it 2 months ago. The last 5 years, what money from SPOS or improvements have been made for the senior center? So hopefully I'll get that soon. Because the senior center has old flooring, old bathrooms, leaking tile ceilings. So I certainly hope that if people are going to look at what they're going to spend or SPOS money to be invested in, the senior center really does need some major renovation.
That information has been pulled. I'm sure you'll be getting it soon as far as what we have done at the senior center and how much we spent.
Thank you.
It's actually in your inbox, yep.
Thank you.
You were very
I'm going to respond to what you just said about senior center. I'm going to back up a little farther than 5 years.
Okay.
We'll go back to 2012, 2014. We spent $312,385.68. In August 2021, started a new addition on the back side, which included the additional large restrooms, exercise room, and storage. Spent $400,000. Also in 2021, spent $8,000 on a new HVAC system and $13,780 to replace the fixed glass with a total of $734,165.68 since 2012.
Oh, since 2012, so that's the last 13 years?
14 years.
One more question. Since you mentioned that the SPOS vote is moving to November instead of May, you had indicated in the paper that FLOST was also going to be in November of 2026.
The FLOST is off and the SPOS is on.
Excellent, thank you.